Welcome to Jahrzehnte des Grauens, die klassische Ader.
I must know everything. I must penetrate the heart of his secret. I must become a Caligari.
This is episode 198, recorded February 23rd, 2025.
With garlic butter.
Gruesome Magazine.
Alrighty. My name is Jeff Mohr. On this podcast, we cover the good, the bad, maybe even the ugly horror films released since the beginning of time through 1969. In each episode, we'll discuss the monsters, spirits, psychos, and villains that have haunted movie-going audiences since the dawn of film history. With me this week are my incredible co-host, Chad Hunt, co-host of Decades of Horror, the 1970s and 80s, film producer and director with Wreak Havoc Productions, and a comic book artist and writer. How you doing, Chad?
I'm feeling expressionistic and well drawn. Yeah.
Another movie you had to read.
Yeah. At least I'm learning something.
That's good.
I learned something good.
Also with us is Daphne, who is awesome, stupendous, and likable as hell. Daphne, how you doing?
I am doing really good. I'm excited to be here and excited for our guest, and it's going to be fun to talk about.
Yeah. So Doc couldn't be here with us today, but in his stead, we have a guest, Eli Mohr.
Mm-hmm.
You may recognize the last name. Eli is my grandson. We had him on like 7 years ago on a 70s podcast for Asylum. And I don't know. Chad said, I talked about seeing him and talking to him, and he said, we should have him on again. And I went, okay, let's do it. And I let him pick today's film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had never seen this movie before, but I'd heard really good things. So honestly, I thought it was great, and I'm excited to talk about it. Yeah.
Excellent.
Cool.
Glad you're here and on time. Well, you know what they say about millennials isn't true.
On time.
I'm just kidding. So here at Decades of Horror, we partner with Play Now Media and some of their streaming channels. You can get these through all the normal channels, Amazon, Roku, Apple, Google, whatever. And Decades of Horror, the Classic Era, is on 3 of their channels: the Classic Horror Movie Channel, the Classic Sci-Fi Movie Channel, and the Wicked Horror TV Channel. And for, we don't know how long, but for right now, we have promo codes offered. So if you are a new subscriber, and you must also subscribe through the Play Now Media website, we have the links on our on the gruesomemagazine.com page. If you just look at one of the blogs for a podcast, and enter DOH60. That's DOH all caps 60, and you will get 20% off your first payment. So it's $6.99 a month. If you pay the monthly plan, you will get $1.40 off your first month. If you sign up for a year, which is $50, you will get 20% off that. So you get $10 off, and it'll be $40, which is a heck of a deal. And we pick a fair amount of our films off of these. We've got one coming up actually on 70s. It's on the Classic Horror Movie Channel. So check those out. And they have a whole bunch of other genre channels, like everything you can think of. I'm pretty sure there's a Sasquatch channel, there's a professional wrestling channel, there's a Grindhouse channel, a zombie channel, you just about everything. So check those out. On this podcast, we start off with a few details about the movie that we're covering and get into first impressions, do some taglines, and then just kind of chat about the movie however we want to, with throwing some images up as we go. Spoiler alert, this movie's only 105 years old. But if you haven't seen it, you need to go check it out. And it's out there streaming on multiple locations. So we will just talk about it like you've already seen it. Our topic today is the cabinet of Dr. Caligari from 1920 to Musst, Caligari, Werden. Directed by Robert Wiene, written by Karl Mayer and Hans Janowitz. The cast includes Werner Krauss, Konrad Veidt, Friedrich Freire, Lil Dagobert, Hans Heinrich von Twardowski. The production company is Dekla Film, Gesellschaft Berlin, and Dekla was actually the producer for this movie. Went to work for a French company called Eclair, Eclair. And then when he came to Germany and opened a branch, he put a D on the front, dropped the IR, and became Dekla. It was filmed in Berlin. Filming dates December and January 1919 and 1920. The release date February 27th, 1920 in Germany, and April 3rd, 1921 in the U.S. Now, the budget was listed as $12,371, which translated, from that amount of money in 1920 to 2025 is about $200,000. So not a terrible budget, but pretty skimpy. And that explains some of what was happening. The original title is Das Kabinett des Dr. Caligari. And for some reason, they changed the spelling of cabinet to the English version instead of the German, which starts with a K. But I didn't see any reason why they did that, but they did. Synopsis. The hypnotist Dr. Caligari uses a somnambulist, Cesare, to commit murders. Maybe.
Is that how we pronounce it? Cesare?
Well, I listened to a German documentary on the Blu-ray, and that's how the guy said it.
Yeah, but what do they know?
Yeah, I don't know. On the other hand, in Italian, that's the word for Caesar.
Yeah, that's what I've always called it.
That would have been my guess too. So thanks.
So to commit murders. All right. So y'all can say it. We said it like 2 or 3 different ways on the last time we did this. So this is a repeat podcast. We did this on episode 13. But the only ones still left from then are me and Chad. And we don't remember anything about 8 years ago. So
I can't remember what I'm drinking in this cup.
We thought it'd be cool to look at it again. So let's go for first impressions. And I don't know, do you mind if I put you on the spot, Eli? Usually the one who picks the movie goes first, or do you want to hear us first?
Yeah, sure. Feel free to put me on the spot. I'm
okay. All right.
Yeah.
So this is Eli's pick. So we'll let him go first. What were your first impressions? And I know when the first time you saw it was, but you can bring that up as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, just from a pure, I don't know, like how it made me feel the entire time watching it. I feel like that was just the best part. The kind of the vibes that was thrown at me of just, I mean, all the sets were beautiful. They're all this like painted, artistic kind of look. The acting was just very like, I don't know. It's not something you see much, nowadays. So it felt very unique to me. And I don't know. I just had a great time with it. It was, I guess, artistic is definitely the best way to put it. But yeah, I thought it was great.
Okay. Excellent. Daphne, how about you? Had you seen this before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Excellent.
I've seen it before a few times, but not recently. So it was really fun to watch it again. And I felt just a little bit more focused in what I was, looking for maybe, or things that caught my eye. Eli mentioned the sets. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And the story, I even kind of remembering part of the story, I still found that I was sucked into the little twist at the end. And so that was fun. And I think the coolest thing that I found this time around was the guy who played Cesare or Cesare. How did you say it, Jeff?
Too many syllables.
Cesare. Okay. Yeah, that he
Cesare.
I knew that he was in I knew that he was in some other movies that are pretty famous, but I did not know he was in The Laughing Man or The Man Who Laughs.
The Man
Who
Laughs,
Laughs, which is a movie I've wanted to watch for the last several years. I've thought about choosing it, but thinking, oh, it's not really horror. And I know how Chad feels about that lately. Just kidding.
Oh my God! Don't let that stop you.
Just kidding. I didn't think that, but I was really excited about that because and then he's been in so much stuff, and he was really amazing in this role, even though he was, a big part of the story, but you didn't really see much of his story. You didn't get to hear his story or anything, but I felt like he just really had a strong presence. I thought it was so much fun. I loved it, and I'm really excited to talk about it.
All righty. Appreciate that. Chad, did you remember much of it, or have you watched it in between when we did it before?
I haven't watched it since we first did it. I've watched maybe 20 minutes of it. I just hadn't had time to see the whole thing. But so if I'm a little fuzzy on some of the finer details, forgive me. But yeah, I love this movie a lot. It's I love the expressionism, the sets, where they're painted, they look amazingly good. Especially one where I think you have a picture of it. We'll see later. Caesar walking in the background. It looks like he's walking over a bridge, or has walked over a bridge. It's just amazing stuff, and the imagination that went into it is just something to behold. And the story was really good. The idea of the somnambulist was intriguing to me too, and it just made it really a really interesting movie. It made it one of my favorites now after seeing it. So this movie is for me.
This movie is for you.
I like it a lot.
All righty. Yeah, I like it a lot too. And I actually found out, believe it or not, that Kino Lorber put out a 4K ultra high def of this. Now, how they get that on a 105-year-old movie, I don't know, but it looked pretty darn good on a big TV. Eli and I watched it together. I think it was Wednesday night over at his house, and then I watched it again last night.
Mm-hmm. The music was definitely interesting on the version we watched. It was a lot funkier than you would expect for a movie like this. Lots of jazz in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it had 2 tracks on the 4K, and I would have preferred the other track. Eli said he liked that first one, so that's what we watched, and it was sort of like freeform jazz, like almost.
Was it a more modern?
Yeah, much more modern. Then on the Blu-ray, there's actually 3 different ones, and there's one even more modern that's almost sort of techno
really?
stuff. DJ somebody, or DJ Spooky or something like that.
I'm going to have to research DJ Spooky. That is awesome.
Anyway, no, I love this again. And again, I kind of forgot the twist. And we'll talk about that later, because there's it kind of changes everything. Love Werner Krauss, love Conrad Veidt, and those are the 2 main characters. Lil Dagover, that plays Jane, doesn't get much to do. She has a couple of scenes, and then the other one that gets the most scenes is the one that plays Francis, who's telling the story. Anyway, yeah, the sets are the thing. And there's arguments over that. I mean, I don't know why people have to tear things down, but anyway, we'll talk about that later. But this is considered the kickoff point for German expressionism in the movies, in German movies at that time, following World War I. So we'll talk about that more as we go. But I think I'll stop there just to say it's a fantastic movie, and it's another one of those movies I can just sit there and watch it. I don't even need the intertitles. I just like watching the visuals and just drinking in the sets and things. And now it's time for taglines with Chad.
Yeah, a little bit more feeling that time. I liked it. Okay. Taglines for the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari are as follows. The most amazing story ever screened. Don't everybody react
maybe.
At once.
Maybe.
A thrilling, fantastic photo play over here.
Photo play.
All caps.
Yeah. I was going to yell it since it was in all caps, but I didn't want to blow everybody's eardrums out. Dr. Caligari and his mysterious slave, the black and white phantom who lives in a cabinet and goes forth in his sleep to do his master's bidding. The weirdest characters ever seen on the screen and the most daringly different picture ever seen. Screen and scene rhyme.
That's got to be a U.S. one. Doesn't that sound like a U.S. huckster wrote that?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does. Step right up and see Dr. Caligari and his most daringly different picture ever seen. Or something.
It's like the Carney pitch. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For one thin dime, you can see a somnambulist at work. Okay. You must become Caligari. And you must become Caligari. And everybody becomes Caligari. Okay.
Yep.
Du musst Caligari werden. I'm assuming that means you must become Caligari as well.
It does. It certainly does.
That was the line that was up in that scene, right? It was popping up around him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, and there's some story behind that too, but so that's been Taglines with Chad.
Chad's our hero, cool and rad. With him reading taglines, they can't be that bad.
Choke on him!
Hero, cool and
I
rad.
wanted to hear it
With
again.
him reading taglines, they can't be that bad.
Listen, I'm a very shy person and I don't like it when all the attention is drawn to me. So you playing that twice has really set my anxiety up a notch and I can't continue from here. I knew I was going to quit before the end came.
Please.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
All right. So next up, we'll do some, we go through the posters.
Ooh.
And this is kind of the standard one that you see most places.
Mhm.
German. The style of the poster matches.
Mm-hmm.
Matches the movie.
I'll probably forget, so I'll just say now that I really loved the way they lit the streetlights. It is kind of very, clearly wasn't real. It was just very kind of also artistic, separate from reality, just boop. I like that. And that I like that it's in this poster, that you have the trees, the weird kind of, they're not quite as weird here as they are in the movie, but you definitely get the angles and the
shadows. Jane laying there kind of upside down.
Yeah.
The whole thing is.
Yeah.
I've seen this
It-
poster a billion times and I've never noticed Caligari up there at the top of the bridge.
Oh, really?
I've never noticed that before. Yeah. I always focused on Cesare and Jane there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
Yeah,
don't know.
Hey, wait a minute. I
Little
can't
child
keep up with
there.
you young whippersnappers.
All righty. Well, there's that one. Then here's a couple of lobby cards that I especially like the one in the bottom. Something about the art.
I feel like the lobby card on top doesn't quite, I mean, it definitely has the angles and stuff, but in the movie, the scene in the movie, I really thought that was lovely, because I thought it was so cool to see him going off across the rooftops, like escaping. It's a scene that you've seen before and you've seen since, and to see that kind of thing that you've seen in a natural way, in a natural setting, in this super kind of abstract thing, it was kind of jarring because it I don't know, it got me as far as the how off of normal it was, or not realistic, the style.
Yeah, it was very surreal for sure. Yeah, just seeing him up there and all the angles and everything, and yeah, it was cool.
And then this one is Portuguese.
Oh, that's neat.
I really like this one.
Yeah, that's neat.
Which is that same scene, but and then
I'd hate to live in that apartment right underneath him there.
God, shut up.
Yeah. How do you like your new place? Well, it's hard to go to the bathroom. My knees keep hitting the other wall.
So yeah, this one's all red, and it's that scene of him walking the roof line, carrying Jane, and there's sort of some like a odd, I don't know how you call it, like a shaded spiral, angled spiral going around to the background that really kind of adds to that surrealism.
Like a worm's gut.
What's that?
It's like a worm's gut.
There we go. This one is Swedish.
That gets it. It feels like it's in the movie.
How much Caligari has he eaten since the last
That's what I was thinking.
Heavy on the Caligari.
Yeah. More bread.
And there's that lamp again.
Yeah.
They did make him a little chubbier.
It's kind of funny because the shapes are more rounded here, including him. But usually it's all very angles, and there is some angles there, but it's a little different.
Apparently,
I wonder how much these apartments are renting for, especially the one on the left there. It goes halfway down into the basement.
Yeah, the window's just a little low. All right, and let's see. I got another. This one is Spanish.
Oh, that's sharp.
They're going for the black and white.
Makes me think of that band Bauhaus. If you guys remember that band.
Yeah.
But that I love how the white of Jane's dress is the sky or whatever is what it makes me think of.
The space is sort of reversed.
Yeah.
Like negative space. Yeah.
Negative space. Yeah.
And
I think that's the first time I've seen that one.
I've never seen that one.
Well, and I can't vouch for any of these being like original period.
Yeah.
These are just ones I found that were labeled or I could figure out the language. This is not a particularly.
I like his Mickey Mouse gloves.
Yes, I got distracted by those a couple times too.
It's just a standard still, pretty much.
Still, yeah.
Actually, it's Chad and his grandmother after Chad broke the lamp running around the house.
That sounds about right.
Who is who?
I'm the one with the look on his face like,
trying to hide.
On the right there.
Here's another.
That looks like they made the Spanish one from this, but reversed it and did
more color.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, this
or vice versa.
Yeah.
This is interesting, but not a very
That's
good
kinda cool.
poster.
Yeah,
The
but
font's,
it
the font's hard to read, but
mhm.
notice how there's red spots on it. I don't know.
The one you showed before this, I don't know if it was intentional, but um, Cesare or Cesar. I'm going to say Cesare just because I'm not going
Okay,
to remember.
stick with it. Yeah.
I'm sorry if that's incorrect. I don't mean to offend anybody. But that his face is green, and I just know that sometimes people kind of associate him with Frankenstein's monster.
Mhm.
That's what I was
Um,
thinking. Yeah. Does look like him.
but it's not like super obvious, and there's other green in the background, so I don't know.
That's a good
It's
question.
just supposed to be white, correct? Just a
Right.
white face.
Yeah.
Well, on the old black and white anyway. But then let's see. I did that other one. Let's see now.
She looks like she's happy about being carried away. I'm going to Disneyland.
Nah, I'm throwing this one in just because I like it, and it actually
Okay.
turned up when I searched posters.
Very cool. That
Oh,
looks like
wow.
it.
If
Is
you all
that behind you
remember,
at home?
yeah, it is.
Mhm.
That is the poster when the Invincible Czars did their tour. So they're a band out of Austin that writes and performs the scores for silent movies live. And so I went and saw them in Des Moines a couple times. Saw them do this. Saw them do Nosferatu.
Did they
And
do
I
one
believe-
of the scores on the Blu-ray?
No, but I have a DVD of theirs that has a score on it.
Cool.
Again, at home, but I have always really liked this poster.
Mhm. I have-
And there's
It's gorgeous.
there's another one that's for Nosferatu, the same artist did. So but they are very good if you ever get the chance. Now, remember we saw Du musst, Caligari, werden. So
Mhm.
that was their advertising campaign, and they plastered posters like this all over the Berlin.
Mm.
But before the movie came out, without any pre-advertising, and nobody knew what the hell was going
Yeah.
on.
That's great.
That's why it became such a slogan.
That's really cool.
Especially with the two Nazi lightning bolts for the S.
Yeah.
Oh
So-
man, yeah. Now
That's
I'm not
foreshadowing.
gonna ever see
Right.
it. Ever
Mhm.
Well, that
gonna
was
not see
free,
that.
though. You know, I mean, that's
Yeah.
in 19,
Yeah. It was
19,
post World War.
1920.
Yeah. Well,
What was that called? The
Yeah.
Zig?
Stormtroopers.
No,
Yeah.
the S's.
When they make the little beat.
Or the lightning. The lightning.
Mm.
It has a name. I can't remember the name. That
Oh,
starts with a
okay.
Z. I can't remember what it. Never mind. Anyway, they're Kiss fans.
Oh, okay.
Tell by the S's. I'm sorry.
But that's a crazy. You know, that was their advertising thing. So, I want to talk. What did you think of the direction? Now, go ahead. Any comments that you have on Robert Vina?
I mean, I thought it was great. I mean, I know that I don't know how much, because sometimes we talk about cinematographers and directors working together, and I know at that time, especially set designers and writers, and they worked a little bit maybe more collaboratively. That's what I've heard, at least. I don't know if that's true. But so I don't know necessarily maybe who is responsible for all of it, but I mean the shots were beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. The shadowing, even just when they jump from one type of feeling to another, like right when you first see Francis talking to someone in the park, and it just seems like a regular park. Seems pretty natural, and then he starts telling the story, and he says "my town" or something, and then that crazy drawing of the town pops up, and then from that point on, I guess part of the framing, it's so that's it. I love it, and that's like his town, and from that point out, everything is like that. And so I thought that was great. And, you know, the set designs and everything, the lighting and the shadows.
Welcome to Sawblade, Massachusetts.
Well, it reminded me a little bit of the actual. So in this, the sets are mostly painted on paper, I guess. But in the Golem that was released like nine months later, I think it was. They really made buildings that looked like that with weird stairs going up and stuff. So
those were great sets too.
I feel like if we never had movies like Caligari and Golem and the German expressionism, we wouldn't have genres like noir and
oh, absolutely.
You know, the dark, the Val Lewton movies, things like that use shadow and darkness to help tell the story. It's just, and even today, there's movies that still
100%.
Like the new Nosferatu. It didn't have a German expressionistic feel, but it reminded you of it because of all the darkness and the shadow that it was in. But.
Well, watching it again, one of the things that really struck me was, you know, expressionism or the inside, you know, how things are expressed. The things that you see are expression of the inner world. And so all the little, and I just felt like that is something that's so classic in movies, you know, especially movies, because of kind of what you can do. I think you know, I feel like I get that experience a lot in anime too, where they can just like kind of go over the top with stuff. But yeah, you're right. As far as horror, obviously film noir, but horror too, because so much of, you know, one of the things about horror is like the ugliness inside or, so you're absolutely right. 100%. Some of those other things, I don't know what they would look like without these early movies.
Yeah, I think it definitely did a great job of making you feel, you know, like not like you were hearing the story of a madman, but you were the madman himself experiencing that kind of, you know, delusion. We're fine with talking about spoilers, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. But yeah, like from everything from, I mean, the sets, obviously they're all very absurd, not what you'd see in, you know, real life. The acting was all very over the top, kind of exaggerated almost, right? The makeup, just they all kind of look like ghosts almost. They have a very ghastly kind of appearance. The eyes, all clouded black, their faces pale, just everything about it. And I mean, I didn't really clock that, you know, until the later end where they actually unveil the plot twist. But once they did, it all kind of clicked, and I was like, you know, they were just like basically spinning this mad, insane story and kind of showing you, I felt from his eyes, what it was like, you know?
Like you're in the inside of Caligari's mind, looking at everything, and that's how you see it.
Yeah, exactly.
And there isn't a way that you could get that without it being expressed visually, you know? I mean, that's what's so amazing about it. You know?
Like
he's a madman.
Yeah.
You could do something like that. Like they've had, you know, like Dostoevsky, he's done kind of insane characters, right? Insane protagonists or very delusional protagonists in books. And I feel like that's been done before. And I feel like this was the first, I mean, I'm assuming the first time in a movie where that had been really expressed in the same way, but to the extent that a movie can express it, you know, through a visual format, which hadn't been done before. So, yeah.
There was one I guess this would go under direction. You guys correct me, but the scene at the end, well, when they enter the asylum, when they chase the doctor in the asylum, and I was just, you know, again looking at the sets and everything, and noticing on the floor all the little kind of light, like little lightning bolts or whatever, but they were all going towards the center where Francis was standing. And I didn't really think about it then, but I was like, wow, you know, just looking at the sets. And then later on, when you see all the people in the asylum with him, and you see him kind of in the center of this
Mhm.
thing. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Thanks, Jeff.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, he's here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was here. He was here before.
Mhm.
This is where he is. And I thought that was great. That made me really happy.
Yeah. Like he's the center, which like the entire film is hinges upon, right?
Mhm.
It's all about him the entire
Draws your
time.
attention to him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, without you really knowing about it, right?
Yeah.
Until
Mhm.
then later, and then you're like,
Mhm.
Well,
But you could, the makeup you could tell ends at the top of their neck.
Mhm.
You could see how
that's
much
true.
darker the rest of their skin is as compared to their faces.
Mhm.
So I think like the big directors at the time were Fritz Lang just got started like in 1919, and F.W. Murnau, and so apparently Fritz Lang. Well, let me think. Let me do this sort of spiel here. The one director was Eric Palmer. He had 238, or not directing, producing. He had 238 producing credits, among which are Faust and Metropolis.
Mhm.
And so he started out getting a job making bookings for Gaumont films, Gaumont, at movie theaters. And in fact, then there was this little history of it. The first public motion picture film presentation was November 1st, 1895, and was projected at the Berlin's Winter Garden with the bioscope apparatus invented by Max Skladanowski and Emil Skladanowski in December 1895. Anyway, and then the Lumieres did an exhibition and projected films to the paying public in Paris. But he met, while he was selling these movies all over the place, he met a young projectionist who aspired to become a cameraman. Turned out to be Karl Freund, who's well-known cinematographer and directed some excellent movies as well. I think Mad Love was one of them.
Mm.
And then they became lifelong friends. I know I've talked about this before, and I don't believe it was all the way back then, but the last Hitler German production for Palmer was FP1 Doesn't Answer. And it was a science fiction thing where the FP stands for floating platform. They built a refueling station in the middle of the Atlantic. Anyway, it was sabotaged. But at that time, they said a creative producer could initiate, coordinate, supervise, and control all aspects of a motion picture from inception through completion, including release. And he became the best example of a creative producer throughout his career. He arranged to place the assets of his French employer Eclair into a German company called Decla, Deutsche Eclair, while he served on both the Western and Eastern fronts in World War I, wounded twice and won the Iron Cross. He had one of his trips, he stopped over in Vienna, where he was introduced to a young actor with training in art and architecture who was interested in films. And that turned out to be Fritz Lang, and he invited Lang to come work for Decla after the war. At that time, when the war was over, Decla merged with Meinert Film, who was a co-producer of this. And in February 1920, Decla released the first of several international titles, including The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and Fritz Lang's spy thriller, Die Spinnen, or Spiders. And they wanted Fritz Lang to direct this movie, but they wanted him to finish this other one first. So anyway, I like how all those people, they kind of weave together and
Mm-hmm.
you know, he meets a projectionist who turns out to be Karl Freund, you know.
Mhm.
Anyway.
Well, probably weren't very many other people working in film
Right.
at the time, you know, so they were sort of elbow to elbow with each other, probably.
Yeah.
In
And
a lot of
then
situations.
I was going to say, I wonder too, and you know more about history than I do, but were there some limitations to American films or foreign films coming into Germany, or were they like trying to have more films made by Germans during that time? Or
I don't know. I think so. They said that Paris was kind of the center of filmmaking until like Caligari really and expressionism just kind of blew up.
Yeah,
And
I guess
all of this art and creativity and that stuff. Whether Germany was keeping them out or not, I don't know. But like 15 years later, they definitely were.
Yeah. Okay.
He was also, then he fled Germany. And in 1946, he was hired by the U.S. State Department, given the rank of colonel, and was asked to reorganize the German motion picture industry in the American zone of Berlin as the chief film officer for the Office of Military Government of the United States. So he resurrected and reversed a lot of the censorship that was being done by the Nazis and that kind of stuff. So anyway, really an interesting character. And you go through the films that he was a producer on. He just did so much stuff. But anyway, then the other ones you really need to pay attention to. In this one, I looked up the cinematographer and was looking around, and it doesn't appear to distinguish himself. Like, he's got credits, but nothing that just really stands out.
Yeah, I didn't recognize anything.
It was really the production design team: Walter Ryman, Walter Rurig, and Herman Varm, I should say, were the three that did the designs for all those backdrops and the painting and everything. And there's some discussion on, Vina is considered like hot stuff because of this movie, but there are some people that say he didn't really do anything. It was the actors and these guys that came up with the idea and orchestrated that whole, and it had a lot to do with budget. Our budget sucks. It's also they're freshly moving from the stage to films, and so a lot of that would have fit right in as stage backdrops, right? So I don't know. It just was a lot cheaper to do that than to come up but later on, these guys were also instrumental in creating three-dimensional constructions for backdrops and making full sets and furniture and that kind of stuff. So they were very interesting too. He did a lot of stuff. Varm in particular did a lot of stuff for Fritz Lang and Henrik Galeen and Carl Theodor Dreyer, who did Vampire and The Passion of Joan of Arc in 1928.
Awesome movie.
It is an incredible movie. So these guys are sprinkled all through. And then he also is he's uncredited. Costume design is credited to Walter Ryman and the set decoration to Herman Varm, but uncredited. So I'm assuming, they didn't have all those credits worked out back then. But
that's part of what I was wondering about, as far as if it was kind of more, not strict lines dividing who does what, but maybe a little bit more collaborative.
Well, and in terms of lighting, I mean, they painted the shadows and the light on the backdrops.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's just amazing. I think
there's one picture, and I think we're gonna show it later, but there's of moonlight coming through a window on the wall, but it's actually painted on the set itself. And you don't notice it unless you're really looking at it. It's so great. I love stuff like that that you don't notice right away like that.
Well, I don't know if it was the same scene you're talking about, but I noticed that when the friend was getting murdered, just what was drawn on his bed sheets and stuff. And I just kind of, initially I thought, oh, it's moonbeams, but then I was like, no, those are drawn onto his bed, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah. What a cheap way around lighting.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah, that's the top one was the.
Yeah, he did have weird. There was weird, like there's another close up where he's kind of in the middle. So that the other thing they use a lot on here is an iris aperture for the film, and so that there's a circle of light and then it's all dark around the edges. But in one of those shots, you could see there was little triangles on the sheets or bedspread, and it looked like they were little pieces of fabric that were sewn on, or maybe it was paper. I don't know.
Very cool. I mean, look at that chair. I mean, that chair is so elongated and strange.
Nobody has a back.
Yeah.
About that movie.
It's for Andre the Giant.
Yeah. With back support.
Yeah.
So yeah, in Vina, the main other genre picture he did was The Hands of Orlok.
Also with Conrad Veidt.
Yes. Veidt's all the way through here. Veidt is in a ton of Fritz Lang movies too. So the writers are Karl Mayer and Hans Janowitz, and Karl Mayer wrote not The Man Who Laughs, but The Last Laugh, and The Haunted Castle, 1921, and Sunrise, 1927, which is a really, really good film. I think I've told you guys about it before, but
I think you have. What was the title again?
Sunrise.
Yeah, I think you
it's a Murnau film, and it was out there streaming at one time. I think I actually bought it though because it was so brilliant. It's about a farmer who's lured away by a city girl, and then at some point realizes he preferred being with his wife, and goes back, and it's just all kinds of tragic, emotional stuff. Anyway, and Janowitz did a movie called Der Jahreskopf, which is considered a lost film, but it was also one of the early adaptations of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And if you looked that up, there were some stills made of that oh my God, and I think Conrad Veidt was in that, and I think he plays the Jekyll Hyde character.
Wow, I've never heard of that one.
It's just you can't see it.
Oh.
It's a lost film, but there's like 6 or 7 stills on the IMDb page, and they went crazy on the makeup. It's sort of like he goes from being handsome Conrad Veidt to looking more like Caligari. His hair is just blown out. Anyway, so yeah, that's the spiel on that stuff. It's just amazing to me when they're out there creating a new medium, a new form of entertainment. Granted, it's like 25 years old, but yet it takes a long time to get that stuff moving and get past the first, there was a lot of demo stuff that was 5-10 minutes long to where you're actually telling stories. So we have these two characters, Alan and Francis, and Alan and Francis that's when they're at Caligari's tent show, and Cesare tells Alan that he's going to die before dawn. And then when he dies before dawn, that's Jane's reaction in that bottom shot.
Yeah.
Squee! And look at him. He's like, what is wrong with you?
He's like, my competition is out of here.
Well, that really, because they both loved her, and
Mhm.
they made a pact to let her choose, and
Yeah,
they would
they're
be friends
best
for
friends.
life,
Yeah.
which didn't turn out to be much of a promise. So I don't know what. I know what we need to talk about is. Did you know? So it's the framing story. He's telling the story about this, and then the thing at the end, that was not in the original script.
Really?
Really?
They said that Fritz Lang claims it was his idea when they were talking to him about directing it. He wanted to add that. Don't know how it actually came to be, and I think the writer said they
you
didn't
never
know
trust
anything about
anybody named Fritz.
But yeah, that changes the whole movie, right?
Yeah,
Otherwise,
it does. Absolutely.
it adds a lot more impact at the end, because otherwise you just have these two guys go to the carnival, blah blah
It's a
blah.
weird
They
story.
the same girl, blah blah. You get to the end, and Caligari just gets jailed, and you don't know where Cesare is, right?
Well, and you're not taking down that weird story where at the end you have to start questioning the truth of the storyteller and what's really going on. And I mean, that really gets your mind turning.
Yeah.
And I know I've had read that people look back at it and have ideas about maybe kind of what was going on with the writers and stuff, and disagreement about what some of the motivation was. But people were talking about authoritarianism and kind of how some people didn't like the framing because it took away it kind of gave the framing being there took away the authoritarianism that Caligari brought to the movie. But I think that I like it because I like that unknown that kind of leaves you in the unknown thing, in addition to being like, oh my gosh, is this what really happened? What's true? What's not? Is he insane? But at the end, I was really like, is Dr. Caligari going to do something bad to him, or is he going to try and heal him? That last line of, oh, now that he thinks I'm Caligari, and now I know how to heal him. And I'm like, is he going to like look in the camera and do like a little devil smile, or, but yeah, exactly. But no, he just looks at the camera, and it's like,
I'm thinking lobotomy. Yeah.
Well,
and I saw this documentary I watched. It's on the Kino Lorber. They taught one of the people on there said it was all about. They thought it was all about conspiracy theories, and I didn't. I'm still trying to figure out the conspiracy theory. Other than I guess Caligari could be the conspiracist, and he's still fooled everybody somehow.
Oh yeah.
Although it has to have been for the framing story at the end to be anywhere close to true, that means that Francis's account of Caligari getting put in a straitjacket and locked up can't be true.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. It gives you something to think about. And it's also made me look back, think back about some of the things earlier in the film where I was like, yeah, I did think that was strange. Like when Francis went in there and just said, Caligari ran in here and, oh, he must be the director. That everybody was just like, oh, yes, let's investigate the director. And I'm like, this is your boss, and going through all those records. I'm like, that's weird, but I just was going with it.
I'm Chris Hansen from NBC.
Yeah. Right, but then afterwards you go, well, if it's in his mind, he would be kind of like the hero in this mind, and he would be that person playing the main role, the person that could come in and say those things and have access to the books and figure out what's going on and that kind of stuff.
Before I forget, and I talked about it a bunch in the original episodes, so I'm not going to talk about it too much, but there's a documentary based on a book of the same title called From Caligari to Hitler. And it talks about how when the Germans moved from this. I was having this great talk with your brother Nolan. Eli, he's taking world history right
AP
now.
World, yeah.
He's a sophomore in high school, but he was rattling off all this stuff that was happening in Germany and Britain and the competitions and all this stuff. And so anyway, you get to the end of World War I, and it was like the German people were like breaking free of this whole lockdown, button down, command and control authoritarianism, and just went nuts with it. And they said that Caligari was the example of what a Hitler could take care of, and that if you look at that society, you could see Hitler coming because it just wasn't that long to totally break away from that they wouldn't. Somebody would show up and say, "I'll give you back that comfort, of knowing what's right." Anyway,
yeah,
it's a great documentary, and there's a nice documentary on the Blu-ray as well. It's about an hour that goes through that just German situation. I'm trying to decide what to show here. Let me walk through some of these. So here's Conrad Veidt. Eyes shut, eyes open.
Spooky.
He's so crazy in this, right?
He's got a great face.
So he's another one. Not all of them, most of them fled Germany. Krauss didn't, and Lil Dagobert didn't. So past that, I'm not really certain, but Vina left Germany. Conrad Veidt did, and the story behind him was he's not Jewish, but his wife was Jewish. So when they first sent out a form that said to put your race down, he was really anti-Nazi. He put down Jewish on purpose because he said, "How can I
leave his wife in the lurch?"
Yeah, basically, how can I stay in a country that would prosecute the woman that I love, and really kind of cool. So he split just in time, and I think Palmer did that. Goebbels came to Palmer, the producer, and wanted him to run his film section, and he said no, and I can't remember what. He told him something that you would have thought he would have got nailed right away, but his wife and son were already out of the country, and he left the next day and didn't take the normal routes. As he got close to the border, he switched and took some off-road thing to get across the border because they were nabbing people up as they crossed the border. Veidt left, so he left pretty early on, went over to Britain, made some British movies. He ends up playing a lot of Nazis in movies, but he refused to play a Nazi that was shown in any sympathetic way. They always kind of had to be the villain. So, and probably the most well-known is in Casablanca.
He's got such a creepy face for these kinds of roles. I mean, the makeup helps a little, but especially in The Man Who Laughs, how they got his face so contorted is still a mystery to me. But if it wasn't for him, we'd never have the Joker.
Right. I mean, I was going to tell you, that's our Batman connection, right?
Yeah, the Joker was very heavily influenced by The Man Who Laughs and Conrad Veidt's appearance in that, even to go so far as some of the drawings of the Joker looked like they were taken right out of Caligari and The Man Who Laughs. So he's our Batman guy this time around. But it's just amazing how something, just a little movie like that, could make such an inspired
other, a huge.
And we should do The Man Who Laughs.
We should.
All right. I didn't know that because I don't know a lot about comics history. But as soon as you said that, because I knew you said that before when we were talking, we must have talked about him in another movie or something. But I was like, yeah, of course, that picture. I mean, I look at stills from his movie, and I know that I've seen the Joker depicted in very similar ways. So that is so cool.
Yeah, I love that. When I first saw or heard of The Man Who Laughs, I was like, they're just ripping off the Joker. And then I learned later that it was the other way around. But
it's so cool. And that happens a lot when we're going over these movies, right? Where we're like, oh, so and so was this. I mean, look at The Shining and the Phantom Carriage.
Phantom Carriage,
and just other things where you see these artists that you love, and then you're like, oh, this is what inspired. They were inspired by this in some way or something. Yeah, that's so cool.
Well, I think some of the stuff in Nosferatu might be inspired by this, where Nosferatu rises up out of the coffin. Cesare doesn't actually do that, but it's close, right?
Yeah.
Sits up straight. And
Caligari sits him up straight, yeah.
Yeah, he played a Gestapo major in Casablanca. He was the highest paid actor, receiving $5,000 a week.
I'll take that. I'll take that money.
I will take that too.
And he died shortly after that. Let's see.
I'll look past that part, but I'll take the money.
Yeah.
He died pretty young, didn't he?
He did.
I want to say was he in his 50s or something, or
I don't remember the exact joke. Should be there.
I'll look it up. 50, yeah, 50.
Wow.
I think he had a heart attack while playing golf, I think.
Watching golf gives me a heart attack.
Yeah.
He doesn't care.
You want to go play some golf? No.
Not today. I just started this $5,000 a week job.
We also have Werner Krauss, who is kind of the opposite, although it depends who all you listen to, as Caligari. And boy,
nice cornrows.
Yeah, I know. Wasn't that weird?
Yeah.
It's like the skunk stripes on top of his head was very. And boy, does he do a lot of mugging in that.
Oh yeah.
He was only 35 years old when this was filmed.
No way.
Yes.
His Mickey Mouse gloves are older than that.
Well, we were talking about their makeup, and but when he is not wearing the Caligari makeup, he's at the end. It's like it's. I don't know. Then you just really realize how it's really obvious how important that makeup was, even though it's obvious that it's makeup, and you wonder how much of it was of the time for silent movies. But he looks like a kind doctor, how you would imagine, which is why it adds to that. Well, maybe he's not a bad guy.
Yeah, the makeup really made him made him have that intense, it kind of exaggerated his features and everything. It was great. It was really, really great.
Well, he does it. He walks real weired. I mean, his whole body language was great. And I think, did it seem to you, did anybody notice, was he wearing like high heel boots kind of? I don't know. Just the way he walked seemed weird. Sometimes he was almost like a weird little shuffle dance while he was walking. He on the other hand, and this is weird. These are in the same sources. I see the opposite things. One place says he was an unapologetic anti-Semite who supported the Nazi Party and its ideology, and he joined an ensemble to perform. Let me see here. Performed a drama partially written by Mussolini.
Oh, him and Veidt should have got along famously.
Yeah, and after that, he made the acquaintance of Goebbels, and then he was in a famous movie called Judsus, which is an extremely anti-Semitic film. Now, he was unapologetic anti-Semite. That's what the one source says, and the other source says when he played a rabbi in this movie, but he wanted to sabotage the movie by offering to play additionally more minor Jewish roles, knowing that Goebbels hated double casting. He hoped that he would be dismissed from the movie. But Goebbels liked the idea because this would be a way for him to show that all Jewish characters came from the same source. So Krauss ends up playing 5 additional minor roles in the movie.
As soon as this movie is over and I get my $5,000, I'm going to choke your fat neck, Caligari.
But he also, and I think, guys, hold on while I get to this because I had 2 different sources here. Where is he? Werner Krauss. Okay. Because I know that he ended up making up. That movie is still banned on the free market in Germany unless shown for educational purposes. But he went through some kind of sort of like Nazi deprogramming, it sounded like, for a couple of years, and then was let back into Germany, and he was finally awarded the Order of the Federal Republic of Germany in 1954.
Who is number 1?
So I don't know. It's very strange. He claimed after the war he was coerced into playing the part, but he was convicted in court as a minor war criminal, fined and forced to move to Austria. And he came back to Germany in 54 after his rehabilitation.
So's my neighbor 2 streets over.
I don't know how that happened, but anyway, at this time and period, he's great in this, and he really kind of makes his whole character.
Yeah.
And when he decides he's got to be this, is it an 18th century mystic or something that he's trying to be? I must become Caligari.
That was a cool scene.
You look closely at the makeup in that, especially in that top picture. You can see where the makeup was applied to make him look a lot older. They have the crease between the eyes. They really accentuated the wrinkles around his lips and mouth and cheekbones and stuff like that. The dark circles under his eyes, and it looks like they did a little of the forehead or his eyebrows,
like wrinkles on the forehead and stuff.
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned the Mickey Mouse gloves too. Those are just
that screams old.
Yeah,
that's Steamboat Willie old right there.
Old.
And here's Caligari and Cesare, and that bottom picture is when Jane runs back to him. Is that after he kills Alan, I think, right?
Yeah.
And apparently all he's doing is fulfilling his prophecy. I don't know. It's just we don't really know what the motive is, right? But if you look at Caligari, his hands are kind of clutched and his knees are slightly bent. He's just like, it's like he can hardly contain himself that she came back. And
well, you're going to have to, Caligari.
But his whole plan is spoiled because Cesare can't kill her. I guess she's too beautiful or something. And then they throw a red herring in here. They have another guy who sneaks around and kills some woman, and he's just trying to make it look like it was the person who killed the other 2 people. There he is, captured by the police, and I swear I kept looking at that guy going, oh my God, that looks like Patrick Troughton in that.
He started that trend of drawing your eyebrows on.
Well, hey, I'll tell you what, Jane's makeup, she's got quite the eyebrows too.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a picture of Troughton in The Omen. There's another one though. I think it was it Scars of Dracula, where he's the henchman in the castle. I thought that one might have been too, but I didn't have time to dig too hard.
No, that's a great picture.
The one in Scars of Dracula looked more like the top picture than the bottom.
Ludwig Rex is his name.
Well, wouldn't you do the same thing?
Given
Make it look like somebody else did it? Oh, if I was going to kill somebody, I'd try to.
It's like the Purge. The Purge. Purge. That was that one picture of Caligari where he's fatter than him.
The Purge.
The Purge.
Jane's abduction. Let's see here. Caligari's capture.
That's the one I was talking about before.
Oh.
Before of him going up the bridge or whatever. That was
with Jane.
Yeah,
when that was Jane.
I love that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that picture. That whole thing there.
Oh, I thought you were going for. See, and I can't find one with the right tint. I thought you were going for this. That's always a kind of an iconic.
Yeah.
Do you have one in a mauve?
Well, it's one thing Eli and I were talking about. So it appears, right, that the tints were intentional, right?
Yeah, it looked that way.
Yeah.
Did that have to do with the transfer, or
they must have done it at a later time, though, right?
No, it's what was it, Eli?
Wait, what do you mean? Are you talking about?
Well, there's kind of a
blue tint. No.
There's a greenish blue tint and another lighter.
Oh yeah. So blue tint for night, right? And there's some scenes with Jane where it's like always pink. Yeah, it just seems like there's sort of a pattern there. I imagine that's intentional, but
it definitely seemed like the green tint was at night.
Yeah.
It's for jealousy.
But I have seen other, when you go look up images from silent film, sometimes you'll get like 2 or 3 different tints on the same scene.
I'm sure it has something to do with it. Then maybe that was a way that they, that was something they could do to affect the lighting.
Well, and they did have to piece this together from.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. It was from the redoing it from old. I thought I had seen something in my research about the tinting and stuff, but I can't find it.
It was called Uno color back then.
Uno color?
Yeah, one color at a time from the camera. Not Technicolor. They didn't have Technicolor yet.
Not Technicolor, but Uno color.
Uno color, yeah. One at a time. Look at that top picture.
Yeah, they
keep watching the skies.
They're on him.
That's a thing, Joe.
He's surrounded. Yes. Caligari laying there. Man, they throw that straitjacket on him and like nothing flat.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. That's for sure.
They've done that before. And we kind of mentioned this before, but Alan's death. I love that. I wish there was more pictures of that. There's a longer scene of those silhouettes in shadow that are really creepy. He's freaking out with another one of those tall chairs sitting by his bed.
Whose back is this long? Keeps him up at night.
That's a neck support.
All righty.
That's a neck, head, and whatever else goes above your head. Support.
Okay, some of the wraparound framing, and I got to tell you, what is up? I mean, was that actually a style to paint the lipstick like that?
Yes.
It was, huh?
Yes, it was. They whited out like you see there, and had it's a Cupid's bow. Yeah, that was a style.
Sort of like Amidala in Star Wars. She tried to bring it back, but it didn't work.
Did she?
Yeah. Natalie Portman.
I was just picturing that outfit that she had. Yeah.
The eyebrows are back though.
Oh yeah.
Eyebrows are in.
I used to have these books that kind of would go over. It was for theater makeup that they would go over the different like trends during different decades. It was really cool. cool book. That's where I kind of know some of the things about the 20s. And also, when I saw this for the first time, I had gotten really into Louise Brooks. So I had watched some of the Pabst movies she was in, Pandora's Box and Diary of a Lost Girl or something like that. And then then I watched Metropolis, and then I started watching some of the other movies, and yeah, so that was fun.
Look at the contrast between her neck and her face.
Yes.
I hear music in the background.
Well, she looks entirely different. Like that shot above.
Yeah.
I don't see any makeup on her in that one.
No, and she's
Yeah.
very beautiful. When you get that one in the bottom, and she just is bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they probably did that so the camera would pick up the face better, I guess.
Maybe, yeah.
You know.
Well, to give that kind of otherworldly vibe, maybe, because this is at the insane asylum, right? The bottom one.
Yeah.
But you're right. The top was also you don't know it then. You don't know it at the time.
Right.
But the top
She's just walking by, and he's
just
telling
walking
this guy
by.
the story, and he goes, "Oh, there goes my fiance," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Wait a minute, this is pretty weird." She
You're
didn't
a
talk to you
liar!
or anything. It's your fiance, and then you find out later. All right, so let's do some of these. I do have some of this bigger pictures that I think show the sets a little bit, and I'm going to kind of go in order, otherwise I'll get easily mixed up. So that's the insane asylum. We showed that once already. And did you notice how they had the people in the background were all doing quote unquote crazy stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. One woman playing an imaginary piano. Yeah.
Someone carrying a doll like a baby. Some guy like just talking to himself or yelling. Yeah.
And here is Caligari at his desk.
Nothing weird about that.
I mean, that desk has got.
How does he get in and out of behind?
I don't know. And then they had that skeleton hanging there. I think was it that behind that is where the books were on the mystic Caligari. They moved that skeleton, and then they opened it up, and the doors, all the doors in this thing were all.
Oh, they were wacky.
Yeah, they weren't square, and which made them, if your hinges are on an angle, then the door opens like up in the air or down or.
That was so crazy, and some were really narrow.
Yeah.
Look at where his hands are in that. I'm watching you, Wazowski. Always watching.
He's like, don't touch my books.
Yes, these are my books.
Apparently they didn't have bookcases for these sets.
I guess not. Yeah, he's the director, for crying out loud. Give me his shelf.
Well, so we did, I think I showed this once before, but that's just a great, his hair, he just looks wild and you don't recognize that. I mean, if you didn't know and you looked at this and said, who is that actor? You would never, I don't think, recognize that as Conrad Veidt.
No. Yeah.
I wouldn't. And they haven't done that much to him. It's just painted white and the eyes.
Probably maybe the lips.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, well,
but so much of it is just his expressions
But whatever afflicts him that makes his face that way doesn't involve his ears or neck in any way.
Yeah, this is true. Then here's a shot of Caligari walking around the set. But it's so weird. There's like numbers on the figures on the side of the wall, and I don't know where there's another place where there's obvious numbers, I think.
Yeah.
And
I tried to read these signs and stuff, and my furniture started floating.
You're not supposed to say it out loud. But look how that set is. I don't know how far back it goes, but it's the way they've done it. It looks like there's a lot more depth to it. Like it goes on and on behind them.
Very cool.
and these
Show me a
weird
door, any door.
Yeah.
It looks like buildings that have fallen into each other.
Mhm.
And he's walking down
Mm.
the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, like something on a Doctor Strange or something, right? That
Mhm.
what was that? Where the buildings folded in on each other.
Oh yeah, the
And then here's a full shot of that same one you were talking about,
Mhm.
mhm.
Chad. I do, and he just, apparently somnambulist really can't run because he doesn't get very far away, and they catch him. And the way he picks her up is just like,
I
Eli,
like
I
the
think
little.
when we were watching that, you kind of chortled because it was so weird. He picked her up like a bundle under his arm, and
Oh,
just
yeah.
walked off with it.
The little under his feet. This, I guess, that's supposed to be the light from that lamp. You can see it spills over the side thing, and it
Mhm.
sort of makes a little flash.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well,
underneath
and
there.
Really cool.
sort of that now I'm thinking maybe that dark spot in the front there is supposed to be a shadow.
His shadow, maybe. Yeah.
Mhm.
Pre-painted. Like those trees are nuts though. They're like
Yeah.
and what I remember thinking the first time I saw this was Dr. Seuss. Now I
Yes.
understand Dr. Seuss more.
Yeah.
I start to
Yeah.
think about German expressionism.
I really thought that too when you were going through the posters, and that was that one with the red background.
Oh yeah, yeah. So here's Francis's room, and
With the painted on window light.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the windows are like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. And the only furniture, there's the desk, the bookcase, and this, I don't know what you call that piece of furniture.
It's like a psychiatrist couch. or
Yeah, it's pretty worn,
something. Pretty dusty and worn.
but that's
I'm not
just
sitting on
crazy.
that.
The walls aren't straight. There's no right corners anywhere in this.
Mm-mm.
No right angles anywhere in this world.
Somebody with mental problems that steps into this room are going to get a lot worse.
Well,
Looking
and
around and
that's part of the thing, I think, is this is when he's telling his deranged story, I guess.
mhm.
Although, I don't know. I really wanted to get the county
Oh,
clerk's
yeah.
desk, but those desks that those guys.
Do you think this is high enough? Last time the water came all the way up to our ankle.
Yeah. I think it should be higher because I want to bend over farther
Yes.
when I'm writing.
Uh-huh.
Um,
It was shots like these where they were talking about, film critics talking about authority, sitting higher, sitting
Right.
higher up than
Mhm.
people.
oh, yeah.
And then I was reading too that sometimes in some of the expressionist films, they built sets specifically so that people would have to hunch over.
Well,
That hurts
that
my
worked. They
back
did
just
it.
looking at it.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, I can't even imagine them because it wasn't. I was watching them when they got off the stools, and
Mhm.
it was you had a very specific movement you had to make to keep from
Yeah.
tipping the whole thing over. And the back chair on that guy on the left, it's like they got a little piece sticking out that leg is sitting on.
Yeah.
It's like, don't
Yeah.
move, buddy.
Mhm.
Hold on to the table
Yeah. So
and
uncomfortable.
look at the angle of the ceiling or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those triangle windows and
The sign on the wall there says potluck on Friday. Don't forget.
yeah, sign up.
Yeah.
May well be. And I think that's it for pictures and stuff. So I think, I don't know, anything else you guys want to talk about? I mean, we didn't say much about Lil Dagover, but she had a long career. She managed to keep working in Germany. She was like one of Hitler's favorite actresses, but she stayed totally out of political movies. She, for one reason or another, was not asked to do propaganda and did mostly, like farcical musicals and stuff like that, But Hitler liked her and invited her to dinner several times.
Oh, she was okay.
Just
See, my
I
family
thought
is,
after the first time when she stole leftovers out of the refrigerator, he didn't want to have her
Well,
back.
that's possible. That's possible. And she's very distinguished looking
Mhm.
her entire life, even in later roles. I'm sure that if I went through her credits, I would see something. Oh, well, she was in Destiny, which was a Fritz. I think that's a Fritz Lang movie. Yeah. Woman's fiance disappears. Death gives her 3 chances to save him from his fate. 139 credits. So I think she was did a lot of stuff for Fritz Lang during that time period. Alrighty, I don't know.
What a classic movie. I mean, iconic film.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't seen it and you missed our first time recommending it, you got to go see it. It streams just about everywhere.
Yeah, it's like it's 75 minutes, 76 minutes, so it's not a. And the other thing that's kind of cool is I'm not sure when, but they managed to restore the original intertitles. And they have that crazy font on them that it's all over. At least on the version I watched, I don't know.
Yeah, it took me a second to the German intertitles. Yeah, those were cool looking. And they're kind of green and bluish. Yeah.
Like the letters that were on the wall when Caligari was walking around. I always thought of this as really a kind of an iconic image too.
Yeah,
he's carrying that body, but
who's living in those houses, man? That's got me. It's got me screwed up.
Those skinny houses.
Yeah.
If people want to listen to the other time when you guys talk about it, can they get it from the website? That episode?
Let me double check. I believe that the classic era, all of them are on the website. They're not on YouTube because they weren't video, and the podcast apps only go back about 100 episodes. It's on gruesomemagazine.com. It's also on decades4.com. And that was with Joseph Perry and Aaron Miskell, who were the OG
Originals.
classic era. Although I don't want to say we're not. I mean, Cripes, Daphne, I think you've been with us for 4 years now.
4 years of bliss.
4 long, arduous years.
No, 4 wonderful years. And I listened for a long time before that.
We've been doing this for 8 years, Chad, and I always forget to say something when it's kind of the anniversary. Our first episode came out like the end of January 2017.
See, that's the thing. We've been doing this so long, I feel obligated to show up every episode now. And I can't quit like I want to.
That's the idea.
Good.
I mean, we even wrote a song for you. I mean,
yeah.
All right. Well, that's it, I guess, for the Cabinet of Dr.
Stop trying to impress me, okay?
Oh, Jeff, can I ask you a question? You said did you say you had the 4K version?
I do.
Was that the one? I'm just looking at it here because I'm like, maybe I'll have to have this. Was it the one that I'm finding was from Eureka? Does that sound familiar? No,
that's
a Kino Lorber.
That's English. It's Kino Lorber.
Kino, okay.
But I think it's the same. I actually think it's the same.
Same. Okay.
Transfer. The same. I don't know about the contents of it. And it comes with a 4K disc that basically has the movie and the different soundtracks, and then there's a Blu-ray disc that has an extra soundtrack and or score and that hour-long documentary about German cinema and art.
Cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, Eureka's and if you look at Eureka, might work. If it's I've got some of their stuff. They're the White Reindeer, I think, is from Eureka.
Okay.
It plays on. I can't remember if it's all region or if I have to play it.
It was just the first one
cheater.
that popped up, but now I see the Kino Lorber one. Cool.
I didn't really like the cover of the Kino Lorber one, but that's okay. They didn't ask me. I bought it anyway, so what the hell. I kind of bought it because I have it sitting at home, and I'm like,
I know. He
What's
asked.
that?
I was just thinking how funny that was because I know when you were asking me when my next selection was, I'm like, how about this? Well, can we wait? I have that at home. Can we do that one at home? Okay, how about this one? I got that at home.
She picks 3 different ones, and they're all ones I had at home. And Bill gives me crap. You know, well, that was a stupid thing to say. Find one you don't have.
So no,
This
Well, we went longer than the movie, which is our usual goal.
that's standard.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go.
It's not all of our goals. Okay.
All right. Feedback. We don't have a lot, but we got some. And let me see here. I like this one. What do you want?
Should we pull our
Chad.
number out of a hat?
Yeah, Chad, do the reptile.
Okay.
168.
The Reptile from Gerald Van Hee 779 says, saw this movie in 1968 at our town's theater.
It's very cool.
Shocking, shocking, shocking emoji.
So scary.
Very cool. And then we have one.
Super cool.
We have one for episode 196, The Curse of the Crying Woman, the Mexican film from Michael Klein. Daphne, you want to take that?
Sure. Michael Klein, 5242. Thanks to you, movie critics, I finally understand what was going on in the movie. It almost makes me want to view it again. That's nice. Much fun and enjoyed your company. And then there's an asterisk. Well, maybe 22 years from now.
View it again. 22
View it
years
again.
from now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Michael,
A
I'm
little
glad
slow.
somebody understood what was going on there.
And
because-
I want to and I want everybody to notice he called us movie critics, which is
I was looking if that was also had an asterisk next to it or something, but
That's right. That's right. And Eli, could you take the 197 for the Spiral Staircase, which just came live yesterday from Jose Luis Herrera Lapron?
All right. Yeah. So they said, great episode on a really good film. The scene that sticks in my mind is our view of McGuire mouthing empty words. It's from the killer's viewpoint, and we see only a blur where the mouth should be. I first saw this in the early 2000s on DVD. It was in an odd case, golden. The atmosphere was perfect, and that I watched it during a storm.
Oh, wow.
that's
That is
perfect.
perfect.
And just move on to the other.
Yeah.
Comments. Okay, yeah. All right. how do you pronounce that?
Quatermass.
Quatermass.
No, it's
The-
quartermass.
No,
Okay, we're in trouble now.
Sorry, Eli. That means you're in. You got to say quartermass.
Well, the quarter/Quatermass experiment is one of my favorites. I first saw it on TNT in the early 90s. The Blu-rays both look nice, and it's such a sober film with some great and one dreadful performance. P.S. On Staircase, I always think of Reese Williams as Dr. Wu in Our Man Flint. Yeah.
Al's going, you
I
bastards.
know.
I'm looking. I was going to try to. Well, but he wasn't. He was Dr. Krupoff, but Peter Bracco was Dr. Wu. But
It's
they're
been
both
so long since I've
classic,
seen Our Man Flint.
classic characters. Yeah, I haven't seen that for a long time either. I remember the sound of the president's phone.
I remember some of the furniture. Yeah, it's a good movie.
You know what I remember? The first thing I always think of with Our Man Flint is his watch alarm, where the little T-shaped bar comes out of his watch and turns back and forth and sort of like tickles his skin. It's
so
like the
funny.
dumbest thing.
I know.
Anyway, it's a 60s comedy. All right, appreciate it, Jose. Hopefully we'll get some more comments here as Spiral Staircase. I want to know what people think about that in terms of quality of the film. We did mention Quatermass Experiment was out there, but so we love comments. Please stay in touch. You can send feedback to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com, or even better yet, leave comments on Gruesome Magazine's YouTube channel or you can go to the website, gruesomemagazine.com. And we have a Facebook group, Gruesome Magazine's H&R and DOH podcast Facebook group.
Only good feedback, okay? Only favorable feedback, because my ego can't stand.
No, we take them all and we make Chad read the unfavorable ones.
So delicate.
I have to double my medication again.
Well, Grue believers, that's it for this episode. But every 2 weeks, we'll be focusing on a specific film released between 1920 and 1969. Next up, chosen by Chad. What are we doing, Chad?
We're doing Night of the Big Heat. The Terrence Fisher film starring Christopher Lee, Patrick Allen, Peter Cushing, and it's on Tubi and FlixFling, whatever the hell that is.
You know, Terrence Fisher's the one that sold me. I'm like going, oh, another 60. Anyway, that title to me sounds like film noir. Night of the Big Heat. I mean,
I don't think that's what it's about, Jeff.
There's a film mark on Big Heat, the Big Heat. That's pretty well known. Anyway, what do we do now? Oh, this is when we sign off and Jeff kind of fumbles around going, where's my script? Appreciate it. Eli, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Eli.
Thank you for having me.
Great job, man.
That's some good input. Doc, we'll keep an eye on Doc. Hopefully he will be back soon. And I think, say goodnight, everybody.
Well, I told him it was at
everybody.
9 o'clock, so he's probably still waiting to get on.
Oh, Chad. You got to tell me when you do this stuff. All right. Say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.